Picture this. You're stuck in traffic. The clock is ticking, your meeting starts in 10 minutes, and the red lights just keep piling up. Your chest tightens, your hands grip the wheel, and you can feel frustration building like a storm inside you. Or maybe it's not traffic. Maybe it's a family argument. Words get sharp, tempers rise, and suddenly what started as a small disagreement feels like a battlefield. You walk away drained, replaying the moment in your head, wishing you'd handled it differently. And then there's work. Deadlines, demanding bosses, unexpected crises. One small trigger, and before you know it, your stress bleeds into your tone, your choices, your whole day. Here's the question. Why do some people seem to stay calm when everything around them is falling apart, while others explode at the smallest inconvenience? The Stoics wrestled with this same problem nearly 2,000 years ago. They lived in chaotic times, wars, political instability, betrayals, and personal losses. Yet their writings reveal something remarkable. Instead of being consumed by chaos, they developed rituals, simple daily practices, that gave them an inner calm no matter what storm surrounded them. The truth is, calm doesn't just happen, it's trained. And the Stoics had rituals that trained the mind the way exercise trains the body. And that's what we're diving into today. Because in this video, you're going to learn 3 Stoic rituals that you can start using immediately. Rituals that help you regain control when emotions threaten to take over. Rituals that bring clarity when life gets messy. Rituals that create inner peace in the middle of outer chaos. These aren't abstract theories. They are practical, powerful tools that you can apply in your own daily life, whether you're navigating stress at work, tension at home, or the 1,000 small frustrations that test your patience every single day. So let's begin with the first ritual, and it's the simplest of all, yet one of the most life-changing. Ritual 1. Pause before reaction. Imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting at work. You've spent days preparing your presentation. You're halfway through when suddenly someone interrupts you with a sharp, dismissive comment. Maybe they question your idea in a way that feels more like an attack than constructive feedback. Your heart rate spikes. Your first instinct: to defend yourself, to snap back, to put them in their place. Now let me ask you, how many times have you walked away from situations like that regretting what you said? How many times have you replayed the argument in your head, wishing you had stayed calm, wishing you had chosen different words? This is where the first Stoic ritual comes in, the ritual of the pause before reaction. The Stoics believed that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters." Think about that for a second. Life throws events at us: traffic jams, rude remarks, unfair treatment, sudden losses. These things are not under our control. What is under our control is the choice we make in the moment. Do we react with anger, or do we pause, take a breath, and choose our response with wisdom? The ritual is simple, but powerful. When something upsets you, you pause. You take one conscious breath, and then you ask yourself a simple question: is this within my control? If the answer is no, then anger, frustration, or retaliation will only harm you further. If the answer is yes, then calmness gives you the power to act wisely instead of emotionally. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine driving home after a long day. Traffic is bumper to bumper. Someone cuts you off aggressively. You feel your blood pressure rise. Your instinct is to honk, yell, maybe even chase after them. But in that split second, you remember the ritual. You pause, you breathe. You ask yourself, is this within my control? No, you cannot control how other people drive, but you can control whether or not you allow a stranger's reckless behavior to ruin your peace of mind. And so, you release it. You let them speed ahead while you keep your calm. That moment of pause just saved you from an evening of stress, and possibly even danger. Now, why does this work so effectively? Because pausing interrupts the cycle of automatic reaction. Normally, when something triggers us, our brain rushes straight from stimulus to response. Something happens, we react. No gap, no filter. But the Stoic pause creates a gap between what happens and how we respond. That gap is everything. It's the space where wisdom lives. Modern psychology actually confirms this Stoic insight. Neuroscience shows that when we pause and take a breath, we activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic and reasoning, over the amygdala, the part responsible for fight-or-flight reactions. In other words, the pause literally shifts you from reacting emotionally to responding rationally. Let's take another example. Picture yourself at home, with your family. Maybe your teenager talks back to you, or your spouse makes a sarcastic remark. These small sparks can easily ignite into full-blown arguments if we let our emotions take over. But when you practice the Stoic pause, you become the calm presence in the room. You don't ignore disrespect, but you also don't feed it with anger. You respond with composure, which often diffuses the situation rather than escalating it. People around you begin to notice something different. They may not put it into words, but they feel it. You are not easily shaken. You don't explode. You don't lash out. You carry yourself with calm control. And over time, this earns you respect. People may test you less because they realize they can't easily provoke you. This is why the Stoic pause is more than just a tactic. It's a character builder. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you're training yourself to be stronger than your impulses. You're proving to yourself that you are in control, not the world around you. Now, let's talk about how to make this a real ritual. A ritual is more than a good idea. It's a habit you practice daily until it becomes second nature. So here's a simple way to begin. 1. Identify your triggers. Notice what situations usually push your buttons: traffic, interruptions, criticism, disrespect. 2. Decide your response in advance. Commit that the next time it happens, you'll pause, breathe, and ask, is this within my control? 3. Practice small. Start with minor annoyances: the barista getting your order wrong, the slow Wi-Fi, the neighbor's barking dog. Master those first. 4. Build up to bigger challenges. Over time, you'll notice that even in high-stress situations, like workplace conflicts or family arguments, you'll instinctively pause before reacting. Think of this ritual as emotional martial arts. A fighter doesn't flail wildly at every punch. They stay composed, they read the situation, and then they strike with precision. The Stoic pause works the same way. Instead of letting life throw you around, you ground yourself. You remain unshaken. And here's the beauty of it. Every pause compounds. Each time you stop yourself from reacting impulsively, you strengthen your self-control. You build inner peace. And soon, people will see you as someone who is calm under pressure, someone who can be trusted to keep their head when everyone else is losing theirs. So, the next time life tests you, whether it's a colleague criticizing you, a stranger cutting you off, or a loved one pushing your buttons, remember this ritual. Pause, breathe, ask, is this in my control? Then choose your response with wisdom, not emotion. That single moment of pause could save you from regret, protect your relationships, and preserve your peace of mind. And over time, it won't just be something you do, it will become who you are. Ritual 2. Morning mental rehearsal. Picture this. It's early morning. The house is quiet. The world hasn't started tugging at you yet with emails, demands, or unexpected challenges. You pour yourself a cup of coffee or tea, and instead of rushing straight into your day, you take a few moments to prepare, not physically, but mentally. This is the Stoic ritual of morning mental rehearsal. The Stoics believed that much of life's suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from being caught off guard by them. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. Now, on the surface, that may sound pessimistic, but Marcus wasn't starting his day in bitterness. He was preparing his mind. He was rehearsing reality before it happened, so that when challenges arose, he wouldn't be surprised. He would be ready. Think of it like a pilot running through a checklist before takeoff. The pilot doesn't assume everything will go perfectly. They planned for turbulence, mechanical issues, sudden weather changes. Why? Because preparation saves lives. In the same way, mental rehearsal saves peace of mind. Let's break down how this ritual works. Step 1. Visualize the day ahead. When you wake up, instead of grabbing your phone or rushing into tasks, pause. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the day ahead. What meetings do you have? Who will you interact with? What possible frustrations could arise? Maybe a coworker who always talks over you, traffic that slows your commute, or family obligations that test your patience. See them in your mind, almost like watching a movie of your day. But here's the key. You don't just imagine the events. You imagine yourself responding with calm and composure. You see yourself pausing before reacting. You see yourself breathing through irritation. You see yourself practicing self-control. This mental rehearsal creates a kind of inner script, so when the event actually happens, it feels familiar. You've already lived it once, and instead of being blindsided, you carry yourself with calm readiness. Step 2. Expect the unexpected. Life has a way of throwing curveballs we can't predict. A sudden phone call, a financial setback, someone cutting us off in line. The Stoics taught that expecting hardship doesn't make life harder, it makes it easier. Seneca put it beautifully. The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. So, as part of your morning ritual, remind yourself, today, something will happen that I don't expect, but when it does, I will remain calm. I will not be shaken. Think of it like carrying an umbrella on a cloudy day. Maybe you won't need it, but if the rain comes, you're prepared. And even if it doesn't, the simple act of carrying it makes you feel secure. Step 3. Anchor in Stoic values. Mental rehearsal is not just about preparing for problems, it's also about setting intentions for how you want to show up. The Stoics emphasized living by virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. So, each morning, you might say to yourself, today, I will practice patience when tested. Today, I will choose honesty even when it's uncomfortable. Today, I will show kindness even if others are unkind. By grounding yourself in values, you're not just reacting to the day, you're shaping it. You're telling your mind, this is who I choose to be, no matter what happens. Some might wonder, doesn't thinking about negative events make you anxious? But in practice, it does the opposite. When you anticipate challenges, you rob them of their power to shock you. Think about it. If you walk into a freezing cold pool without knowing, the shock is overwhelming. But if you dip your toe in first, brace yourself, and expect the chill, your body adjusts much faster. The same principle applies to life's emotional cold water. Modern psychology even supports this. Studies on mental contrasting and implementation intentions show that when people imagine both the obstacles and their response ahead of time, they perform better, stay calmer, and follow through on their goals. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. They just lived it as a daily ritual. Let's say you know today will be stressful at work. A big presentation, a demanding client, or maybe even office politics brewing in the background. Instead of rushing into the day blindly, you sit quietly in the morning and run through it in your mind. You imagine the client being impatient. You picture a colleague disagreeing with you. You see the stress rising in the room. But then, you rehearse your calmness. You see yourself speaking clearly, breathing slowly, responding thoughtfully. You visualize yourself keeping your composure no matter what. So, when the real moment arrives, it doesn't knock you over. It feels like déjà vu. You've seen it before, and you know what to do. Here's a simple way to integrate morning mental rehearsal into your life. 1. Set aside 5 to 10 minutes each morning. It could be right after waking up, while drinking coffee, or during a short walk. 2. Close your eyes and scan your day. What's likely to test your patience? What could surprise you? 3. Rehearse your response. See yourself staying calm, breathing deeply, and choosing wisdom over impulse. 4. Affirm your values. End with a short reminder of who you want to be that day: patient, courageous, kind, steady. Over time, this becomes second nature. You no longer stumble into your day. You step into it like a warrior, mentally armored, ready for whatever comes. And here's the hidden gift. This ritual doesn't just protect you from stress. It makes you more effective. People sense your calm presence. They trust you more. They respect your steadiness. And you, in turn, feel less like life is happening to you and more like you are skillfully navigating it. So tomorrow morning, before the noise of the world takes over, give yourself this gift. Take a few quiet minutes. Rehearse the day in your mind. Expect challenges, rehearse calmness, and anchor yourself in virtue. Because when you mentally prepare for storms, you don't just survive the day, you master it. Ritual 3. Evening Reflection. The final ritual we'll explore is one that the Stoics considered essential for a balanced life: evening reflection. While the morning ritual of premeditatio malorum prepares you for the battles ahead, the evening ritual ensures that you close the day with clarity, learning, and emotional release. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who carried the weight of an empire on his shoulders, still took time each night to write down his thoughts. These writings became what we now know as meditations. They weren't meant for an audience. They weren't written to impress others. They were raw, personal, and deeply honest, notes to himself about where he fell short, where he succeeded, and how he could live better tomorrow. That's exactly what we're aiming for with this ritual. So how does it work? At the end of each day, before sleep, you take 10 to 15 minutes to sit in silence and reflect. You can write in a journal, type on your phone, or simply think if writing isn't your style. The key is to ask yourself 3 guiding questions. 1. Where did I stay calm today? 2. Where did I lose control? 3. What will I do differently tomorrow? Let's break these down. 1. Where did I stay calm today? This question reinforces your strengths. Maybe you resisted snapping at a rude driver. Maybe you stayed composed during an awkward conversation. By acknowledging these small victories, you remind yourself that calmness is possible, that you are capable of mastering your emotions. The Stoics believed we should celebrate progress, not perfection. Writing down these moments solidifies them in your mind, making you more likely to repeat them. 2. Where did I lose control? This is where honesty comes in. Seneca once said, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, aware now of the habits which are hers and which I cannot change, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said." He didn't do this to shame himself, but to see clearly. Did you let anger win in a meeting? Did you allow stress to spill over into your family life? Reflection shines a light on these moments, not to dwell, but to learn. This is where the power of Stoicism lies. Most people repeat the same emotional mistakes day after day because they never pause to examine them. Reflection interrupts that cycle. By writing, "I lost my temper when someone disagreed with me," you've already taken the first step to preventing it tomorrow. 3. What will I do differently tomorrow? The third question is about action. The Stoics never believed in reflection for its own sake. It was always tied to improvement. If you notice that you snapped at your spouse after work, maybe tomorrow you'll take 5 minutes to breathe before walking in the door. If you panicked over an unexpected email, maybe tomorrow you'll remind yourself, "This is not in my control." This forward-looking step transforms journaling from a passive exercise into an active tool for change. Over time, these small adjustments build into massive growth. Why does this ritual work? Psychologically, reflection is powerful because it creates distance between you and your emotions. Instead of replaying the day in your head with guilt or stress, you lay it out on paper, calmly, like a scientist observing an experiment. The emotions lose their sting. You see patterns, not just problems. Neurologically, journaling helps your brain process and release unexpressed feelings. That's why people often sleep better after writing. They've emptied the clutter from their minds. And spiritually, this practice brings peace. The day is done. You've learned from it. You've prepared for tomorrow. You no longer carry the weight of regrets into the night. Imagine this. You've had a chaotic day at work. Deadlines missed. A client snapped at you. Traffic was brutal. By the time you get home, you're exhausted. If you go straight to bed, all those frustrations swirl in your mind. You toss and turn, wake up irritable, and carry yesterday's stress into today. But with the Stoic evening ritual, you sit down with a notebook. You write, "I stayed calm when my coworker complained nonstop. I lost control when I raised my voice at my assistant. Tomorrow, I'll take a breath before responding to criticism." That's it. 10 minutes, 3 questions. You've turned a bad day into a lesson, and you go to bed lighter, because instead of drowning in guilt or stress, you've transformed it into wisdom. This ritual resonates deeply with modern audiences for a few reasons. 1. It's private. People like practices that don't require public vulnerability. Journaling is safe. It's just you and your thoughts. 2. It feels therapeutic. Writing down emotions is like decluttering a room. Viewers struggling with overthinking find this deeply appealing. 3. It shows progress. Unlike vague, be calm advice, journaling gives a visible record of growth over time. Flipping back through old entries shows how far you've come. And in today's world of constant noise, social media, news, notifications, there's something refreshing about ending the day in silence, in reflection, in peace. Seneca said, "Every day we should call ourselves to account, not in a harsh or punishing way, but with compassion and discipline." This nightly ritual ensures that no day is wasted. Each sunset becomes a teacher. Each night, a moment of renewal. So tonight, before you reach for your phone or drift to sleep, ask yourself those 3 questions. Write them down. See where you stood strong, where you stumbled, and how you'll rise tomorrow. Do this consistently, and you'll find that life doesn't overwhelm you as it once did. Because calmness isn't built in a single grand moment. It's built in daily rituals, in small but consistent choices. And this evening reflection is the anchor that will keep you steady, no matter how turbulent the seas of life become. We've now walked through 3 powerful daily rituals that the Stoics relied on to anchor their minds and strengthen their spirits. Each one serves a different purpose, yet together they create a complete framework for inner calm and resilience. In the morning, through premeditatio malorum, you prepare for the storms ahead. You anticipate difficulties, not to live in fear, but to strip them of their power. By imagining the day's obstacles before they arrive, you are never blindsided, never caught off guard. You wake up not to chase comfort, but to meet life as it truly is. Throughout the day with the control test, you separate what belongs to you from what does not. You remind yourself that the outside world, traffic, politics, the moods of others, will always shift like the wind. But your response, your reasoned choice, that belongs entirely to you. This ritual becomes your shield against manipulation, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. It is the Stoic way of saying, "Let them do what they will. I will govern myself." And in the evening, through reflection and journaling, you close the circle. You sit in silence, reviewing your day with honesty and compassion. You celebrate the victories, acknowledge the failures, and plant the seeds of tomorrow's growth. The day no longer clings to you like a burden. You let it go, because you've transformed its lessons into wisdom. When these rituals are practiced consistently, something remarkable happens. Your life stops feeling like a storm you're trying to survive, and instead becomes a voyage you are calmly steering. Why rituals work? Where motivation fails. Motivation is fleeting. You might feel inspired today and drained tomorrow, but rituals, they are steady, dependable, like the rising of the sun. They don't depend on your mood. They don't require perfect conditions. You simply do them, and in time, they reshape who you are. Think about it. 10 minutes in the morning to anticipate challenges, 5 seconds throughout the day to apply the control test, and 10 minutes at night to reflect. That's less than half an hour out of your entire day. But the return on that small investment is profound. Less anxiety, less anger, more clarity, more peace. It's not about adding something new to your already busy schedule. It's about replacing chaos with structure, distraction with clarity, and reactivity with intentional living. The Stoics weren't chasing a life free of hardship. They knew hardship is the natural order of things. They weren't trying to escape pain, but to become stronger than pain. They weren't chasing applause, but inner alignment. And that's what these rituals give you. Alignment. They bring your daily life into harmony with Stoic wisdom. Each morning, day, and night, you are reminded of what truly matters and what doesn't. You're no longer tossed around by every insult, every inconvenience, every setback. Instead, you move steadily, like a calm river flowing to its destination. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So here is my challenge. Don't just listen to this. Don't just nod in agreement and move on. Pick one of these rituals, just one, and start it tonight or tomorrow morning. Maybe you'll begin with evening reflection. Maybe you'll test the "what's in my control" question tomorrow at work. Maybe you'll try premeditatio malorum before you step out of bed. Then, after a week, notice how you feel. Notice the shift. Even small practices compound into lasting transformation. Because Stoicism isn't about lofty philosophy reserved for scholars, it's about daily living. It's about becoming calmer when someone tries to provoke you. It's about staying grounded when life throws chaos your way. It's about ending each night with a sense of peace, knowing you did your best. The truth is, most people drift through life on autopilot. They wake up rushed, react blindly to whatever comes, and fall asleep burdened by regrets. But you don't have to live that way. With these 3 simple rituals, you can break that cycle. You can rise with strength, walk with clarity, and rest with peace. So the next time life tests you, and it will, remember this: calmness isn't something you're born with, it's something you practice. And through these Stoic rituals, you'll not only protect your mind, but also reclaim the one thing no one can ever take from you, your inner freedom.